Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day, it will brighten all the way. If you keep on the sunny side of life. We've been talking about faith and that life is full of tests and faith tests. That's really important to remember. The testing of our faith produces things in our lives. But there's also another kind of test. It's a self-test. If you think about it, in almost every area of life, professional or otherwise, there's a type of self-testing. You do testing when you take a lot of self-tests to know where you're at, so that you learn your strengths and your weaknesses. It could be when you're in medicine. It could be even when you're taking a driver's test for some of you that are preparing to get your driver's license. Self-testing is a common thing. It leads you and helps you to be able to understand what needs to be worked on. And sometimes it helps you realize that you need some help. You need some help from other people. And in terms of spiritual life, help from God. Self-testing is you find it in almost every realm. Actually, you find it in sports as well. People will do extreme things. And it's really not because they had to do it, but it was a self-test. They wanted to know if they had they wanted to find out what was in them. They wanted to find out what they could handle, whether it was climbing some mountain or some marathon or some quest, like people will go solo around the world in a boat. That may not be of interest to you, those particular things, but for people, it provides an invaluable way for them to come to understand themselves and where they are and what is happening in their life. Now, it's not just true with these other realms. It's also true in the terms of our faith. As a matter of fact, the Bible teaches us that that self-testing is not only important and valuable to you, but it's also commanded as something that you must and should do. Now, we're going to talk about this more when we get there to the weekend message, when we talk about self-testing in the faith, or testing yourself. But I want you to think about this passage out of 2 Corinthians 13. It says this. It says, test yourselves, in verse 5, to see if you are in the faith. Examine yourselves. You get the idea? You are to test yourself. You are to look into your own life and test yourself to see if you are in the faith. Isn't it amazing that he talks about your relationship with Jesus as being in the faith? It's all about your faith. This is so important. Do you not recognize this about yourself? Examine yourselves, or do you not recognize this about yourself? That Jesus Christ is in you. See, you're finding out what's in you, unless indeed you fail the test. And this is so important that we understand that there are things that God gives us to look for to know if Christ is really in us. Now, it's important for you to understand that church that he's writing to, and we'll talk more about it as we look into this more, but that church had all kinds of problems. So many problems that it became clear that there were many, many people doing religion in that particular church, but they were not in faith. They were not in a relationship, because the relationship with God that the Bible talks about is a relationship that is based solely on faith. This is so important for you to be able to recognize and for you to be able to see. So you are to examine yourself to see if you're in that faith relationship. Now, these are some of the problems. it's interesting that they had problems with division and factions and people that followed human leaders over Jesus. There were people that were superior toward each other. There was prejudice, racism between them, and sectarian between them. Sorry, I'm out here where there's a few bugs. And I just want to say that the way they were living, there was greed and selfishness and factions. It was not unlike a lot of what we see today. And the problem was that not everybody who claimed the faith was in the faith. And so this weekend, you're going to, of course, want to have this question answered. Well, what do we test? What do we look for? We look for those things that demonstrate clearly from what Scripture says that Jesus Christ is in you. It might really surprise you, but I really hope that you are willing to take a self-test. Self-tests can be painful. They can be uncomfortable, but they're so valuable. He says, don't you recognize? That means that there are some things that you could look at no matter where you are in your life that you should look for to recognize that you would see Jesus in you. And here's the great thing. If Jesus can be seen in you, guess what? Other people are going to see Jesus in you too, if you can see him. I can't wait to share more with you, and I look forward to this. But would you take some time this week just to look at that passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5, and then ask yourself the question, what are the things, the marks of what it really means to be in the faith? There's a lot of people running around these days that are saying, adding a lot of things, like you have to have this particular view, or you have to look this particular way, you have to go to this particular kind of, you have to have opinions about certain things. But let's get back to what Jesus said and what Paul said about what does it mean to be in the faith. And I can't wait to share more with you. It's so important. And the great thing about self-tests, when you're done, you know where you stand. You know where you stand with God, and you'll know where you stand oftentimes with your witness with others. God bless you.